Any other comments? If not, Pete, I'll move on to your section, please.
One good piece of information is I've got conversations going on in a couple different places here. We finally have a signed contract with Twin Lakes Management. It's taken a couple of months for them to get that off of the desk of the MID folks and get it to us and get them moving on it. They expect to start with the project, with the barge renovation project after Memorial Day, but before the 4th of July. So that's their window to start. And they have people available to do it. So they'll continue to work through that until it's done. And they understand the dire need, and they don't intend to divert at all from it.
Okay, when you say signed contract, do we have like a formal bid then?
Yeah, they gave us right now it's a not to exceed $60,000 agreement that does not include the motor. They're not going to mess with that mechanical piece of it. So there's another $8,000, I believe, in a separate contract that we'll have.
Okay.
But yeah, so it's consistent with what we've seen before.
Now you said they're gonna complete it by July. Is that what you?
No, they're going to start
After Memorial Day.
After Memorial Day. Okay.
Which is next week.
Yeah.
And before 4th of July. So June.
about a 6-week window there.
Yeah. So in the next 6 weeks, they'll go look at it.
They'll start.
No, they're already looking at it. They'll have materials going, and they'll be moving on it.
I'm glad you said that, because it's in here that they don't have a contract, and that was one of my questions. Why? Thank you.
Yeah.
It's in here.
Yeah, well, we hadn't.
What happened?
It just took them forever to get it back. I mean, it just took it.
Public agency, what do you expect?
And it's just their generic agreement too, so I was somewhat surprised. But Todd is doing the best he can. He's the operations guy, and he facilitated that solution.
So you'll get I'm assuming you'll get a formalized contract or some sort that will be.
As soon as they sign it, it'll be
Right.
back in our
Right.
records.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
I signed it today, and
Okay.
they're signing it after me.
Okay.
And so that's a good solid piece of information to move forward with. Just wanted to make you aware that, and Danny, I appreciate you asking the questions and working through this with me as far as an understanding of what we're looking for. We will be spending our cash down to the point where we may have to get board action to temporarily spend some of the capital reserve that is intended for equipment replacement that was put into LAIF. I tried to have Ever is our CPA, put this in a format that gave us a worst case scenario of the state waiting until July to get money to us, so all of the expenses occur up front, and then the reimbursements start in the July area, and it puts the cash somewhere around 161. 685, and Danny, it's different than you and I talked about last week. It's just there were the way that this sheet was originally formatted. It was a better. I wanted it to portray a worst case scenario versus a hopeful that we would receive the money by June
What am I
from
missing?
the
What am I
state.
missing? On what? What are you talking?
Cash, the amount of money that we're going to spend in making 3 contractor
Yes, sir.
payments of up to close to $1 million,
Yeah.
and the state takes 6 weeks.
You said to talk to him last week. There was no meeting.
Well,
Oh no, I just had a conversation over the phone with him.
I'll
Explain
explain.
what this is, because I don't know.
I asked because of the amount of monies that we're having to pay out to put together a projected
That's the
cash
sheet,
flow.
the
Yes,
sheet.
I asked this for the board.
That's a nice sheet.
Because I wanted us to be well aware of the challenges that we're facing up front.
Mhm.
And that's what he's walking you through right now.
Oh, okay.
I asked for this as part of our board packet.
Good.
So that's,
I get
I
it.
didn't go to the board to ask, do you want this? I thought we could
No, it's a good
basically.
idea. I
use it.
saw, when I saw that, well, this is really great.
So that's why it's in the packet for you.
Yeah, and again, there are other variables. We expect to have some other service line failures and other things that may draw that down a bit further. But when we get down to this point, I want you to know that that's it's based on the fact that both the DWR bond law reimbursement, which has already been submitted, and the $231,255, which is IRWMP 5 reimbursement, those have already been submitted. If they're really fast and pay us in the next month, it won't get down that far.
Yeah.
Since I'm going to use the word uneducated, what happens to us? Is there any ramifications if we have to get into the LAIF money? What does that do to us? It is earning a higher interest than our money market account. So for the period of time that we've got that out, that's going to be a Credit-wise?
lower. No, it doesn't. No,
So
that's
because
not.
yeah, okay, all right.
It's not a reserve that is restricted by the condition of a bond or anything like that.
Okay.
It was a reserve that was established by the board. It's in our audit report as a restricted reserve. In other words, it takes board action to spend it. And there would be a board action. Let's just say that we get into, for the June board meeting, if it looks like that would be an important thing to do, is to provide that authorization for access to that money until we're reimbursed. I think we probably should go ahead and have that on the June agenda. Worst case scenario, again, you get reimbursed and don't have to worry
You're
about
only talking about $169,000, aren't you?
left in money,
And
left in
the
cash.
LAIF.
Yeah, that's all that's there, right?
So this is deja vu all over again. This is when I got on the board. No, wait, this is where we were. We were living off the LAIF.
Yeah.
Well, I think there's one delta here.
What happened?
One of the deltas here is we've had to reimburse the contractor for the service line replacements. We will get reimbursed
Okay.
for that money through the grants. So it's a kind of a temporary dip in our savings, I guess you could call it.
Yeah.
But it's not gonna be a permanent dip, and I think that's what Pete's trying to tell us, is that if all goes well, we might not get there, but if the state drags their feet in getting those reimbursements processed, we could be very tight. And that's why I asked.
$169,000 tight is tight.
Well, that's,
I
yeah,
mean, squeak.
yeah.
It is. That's why, we have other things on the budget like replacement of vehicles and everything else that we're gonna have to hang on to, because things are going to break. Service lines are going to break in the street and they're gonna need to be replaced. Valves might break. There's some of the projects that we have slated for a little bit later. For example, the intake Alamo and Nebro CIP, which is the replacement of the valves. And in all reality, by the time we get that bid, the contractor gets the parts ordered, the submittals, they get out there, do the work, and then bill us. It could be out into late July or August, so it may not be an issue, but I programmed that money coming out of the account up front. So I've tried to give us worst case scenario. We proceed with all the projects and move forward with those and don't get reimbursement until later from the state. And at the end of the process, and once we've received all the reimbursements and we've depleted the 2 grants that we have remaining, we estimate the cash to be about $834,000 remaining.
But these have all been submitted. And can I ask when I remember you telling us when the Eurowrap was submitted, but can I ask when that was submitted?
They were both submitted about the 14th of May.
Okay. Thank you.
You know what's so sad is that, this system that we have, all the pipes, it's like having stage 4 cancer 6 months into it or something. I mean, it really is in bad shape, you know? And I looked farther in the agenda, and there's a lot of money there again to try to make this thing work, health-wise. I mean, it's really in bad shape. And the people that the relatives of this system are happily partying and stuff. They don't come to this meeting. They have no idea that this place is, really in sad shape, facilities-wise.
Now you know what I was saying, even though I mumbled.
Oh, is that okay? Okay, I'm with you if that's what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah,
Could I-
we've been pretty much saying that over and over and over as far as the needs for replacement and upgrade of the system. It's just coming at us much faster than we have the cash flow to do.
I think one of the reasons is that we have a person back there, engineer, that we never had before, that's bringing this stuff forward. And I'm really thankful we have it. Because we never had any kind of information like this since '08 that I've been here. And I've been also, I think first meeting I went to was 1993. It's 26 years now. And I've never seen anything that came close to this. It's always been, everything's fine.
Well, I think you have
This is
to,
good.
look at this
Stuff.
board is trying to bring awareness.
Yeah,
And like you said, it's kind of like a lot of the people that live in this community, we're wearing out. The system is too. So it's you look at when you're young, you don't go to the doctor very often. Now that's all we do is go to the doctor. So it's the same kind of a analogy, you have to fix all this stuff, and it's worn out. And I was going to make a comment, I get kind of hammered on the phone sometimes about our service, when we project, we're going to have this section out. And then by no fault, our valves don't work, and this section becomes this section, and everybody's, upset. And we have to educate the community, like what you're saying is, it's worn out, and we haven't put money into it, and we're trying to get some of this stuff fixed to keep us going, where we can say, it's all right, but it's a challenge to do that. So, and that's one of the reasons I wanted you to have this snapshot.
that's nice. I thought it was really great.
So,
He got credit for it, but you didn't.
well, it's
Or
just,
Jeff,
no.
Jeff
I
did.
mean, it's no credit, but it's just the fact that
It's laid out nicely. I like it.
it tells you where we're at and where we can be, and we could have some, this isn't, it's in black and white on my paper, but blue and black on yours, Emery. But it doesn't mean it's a true roadmap. We might have to bob and weave a few times, but at least we know what's out ahead of us for the next 2 or 3 months. So,
Yeah.
And this doesn't even the really, really bad stuff. It's later on.
well,
Well, you have many millions of dollars of assets, and a very small customer base. Join the club. There's another couple thousand of us around the state,
go ahead.
And so I won't belabor the brief summary description that I did of the project and issues, but I wanted to make sure that we put some of this out there. Again, it's not a detailed description. There's not every piece of information associated with this, where we are, who the contacts are, all that kind of stuff. All of that is in the files. But just wanted to list those out in case there were any questions from the board or interest from the public about this. And again, a lot of these, the technical engineering stuff and problem solving will be worked through the district engineer to make sure we get a good, viable, long-term solution. So I'll entertain any questions you might have about this.
Wes, you had a question?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions on this. A couple of comments too. First of all, that reserve on our money, I forgot what we call it.
LAIF?
Yeah, the LAIF. We dipped into that back in
Weekly.
2000
Weekly.
2010 or someplace like that, and we declared as a board that we had this big tub out here, and it was okay to take the LAIF money for that tub and make those payments. And so theoretically, that's been going on for a long, long time. So it's not something new. I don't believe it was right, but it's something that's been going on for a long, long time. We've spent, we argue over the cost of what the wells were, but we spent, $800,000, if my memory serves me, more than the grants for the period of time we were in the emergency and the wells. We spent more than, I think it was roughly $800,000 more than we received back for the grants, okay? And that can be documented, or is documented. We can dig those numbers up. I'm just trying to remember them and try to explain some of these things that we're talking about. Also, the board, probably a year to 2 years ago, decided that we would not have cash flows anymore. Oh yeah. We had a small finance committee, and I believe it was Russ, and I believe it was Dan, decided we would not do cash flows. Totally wrong not to do it, so don't misunderstand me here. But these are just examples of what happens when we don't have the right kind of information and we don't look closely at it. We're looking at back here with some of these projects we have, I believe back here, I read it someplace, I think it's in these projects. If I'm not mistaken, we have looked at that deep water line for the intake at least 3 to 4 times in my history since I've been here.
More than that.
And each time we do that, we're going to spend money on it all over again. And we sit here and we say, what's happening to the money. This is what I was trying to get at the point without getting into a lot of arguments and fights. We're not doing the job that we should be doing, running the business day to day, regardless of whether we're getting a lot of new roads and things of that nature.
Thank you. Okay, Pete, anything else? Or any other comment or question?
I'm just open for board comment or board
Can you
questions.
respond to 800,000? Because all I think the only thing we ever had was the lot that didn't balance out, right?
Right.
And that wasn't 800,000.
No.
Okay.
I said the emergency project during
I was
this
trying to
period of time,
understand what you're
including
saying.
the wells. I'm saying we spent $800,000 more than we brought in on the grants.
Well,
I wasn't,
when we got time sometime, you explain to me.
Sure.
I'd like to know what you're saying. But, interesting. It sounded good.
All right. No, I think the information on the projects and the cash flow is very good because I think we need that. And I know
That's really good.
that these are all projects that are not, some of them are now and some of them are futuristic, as Jeff will attest to, the CIP projects. And as it's been noted here, we haven't done anything for several years, and that's, it's time to move the bar. So I'll let you keep going.
I just smile because a lot of these things to do were here in 1994 through 97 when I was here.
That's
they weren't as bad then, and I do think I remember the first time you
Yeah.
came before the board at that point. But
And you hated me.
oh, never.
Well,
no.
no.
But anyway, it's just it's not unusual. We've been paralyzed either by cash, by management, by lack of management, by boards, by inability to raise the necessary revenue, or actually, in many cases, I look at these projects because we had designed them internally to be constructed internally and never had the staff expertise or the equipment or time to be able to implement them, so they just kept carrying forward.
Right.
So.
Well, I can really understand the cash flow situation the district was in prior to me getting on the board with the Prop
It was
218.
bad.
But so is the integrity of the system. It's bad, and
Okay.
we might have to take little steps, but we can continue to move forward. And as you mentioned, been paralyzed. This board is not paralyzing. We're, I think, pretty motivated and forthcoming saying, let's fix this for the community. And that's,
Right.
I think, one of our key goals here. So let's keep going forward.
What do you want us to
Not,
do?
not everything is on this either.
You know, Pete, the one thing that you're talking about 94 that you guys got rid of was the best thing, was having to pay for the 500 acre feet, whether you used it or not. And that was really what I kept hearing of it for years when I went to that meeting. End of the year, whether and we used like 100 acre feet or 130, it was very little because there wasn't anybody. And you had to come up and pay that for that 500 acre feet. And you got rid of that. So that, to your credit, or whoever it was, that was really good because that was a killer, you know, back then.
But MID raised the prices on the regular water.
Yeah.
Well, that's what,
Yeah.
that's what
They covered it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pete.
Oh, unless there are other questions, I'm done with my report.
Randy's not here, I'm assuming. I noticed we had somebody digging out here in our parking lot. What was going on?
Had a old galvanized pipe. There aren't really good schematics of where things are. So when we see water coming out of the ground and it's blowing rocks and mud, we don't always know whether it's the 18-inch line or whether it's a small 1-inch pipe. And this was a small galvanized pipe that had corroded through. There's a number of those.
Hello. Oh,
Hey,
sorry.
no, are you looking for somebody in the office? Sorry.
No, I was just going to different places, letting people know our tower's up and giving my cards up, but
All right.
interrupt your guys' meeting. Sorry
Thank
about
you.
that.
That was AT&T, by the way.
Oh,
Yeah, nice AT&T hat on. Anyway, I lost my train of thought.
Well, I was asking what was going on out here in this parking lot.
Oh, just a corroded pipe
Okay.
that they're able to get their hands on.
All right. And then there's Randy's report. Anything specific you want to go on over on it?
I have a question.
I don't even have a copy of it. Sorry.
Here's one in mine.
Here, it's probably in this packet. It wasn't on the. Okay, go ahead.
The intake pipe,
Yes.
What's your question?
is that completed, or is there going to be more work that's required on it?
Well, that I don't exactly know. I know that I've had pictures all along the way on their progress to get it done. But when you say, is there more work to do?
Well, I see that on page 21, as part of the capital improvement projects, there's a replacement of raw water main.
I think your question goes is this the intake? This is to replace the full pipe, I think.
Yes.
The 200.
Yes, but
This is just to go around that pole,
okay.
around
Randy's report has
the
leak
power
that's
pole.
happening.
All right.
To answer your question, though, it's probably not done. They found
Yes.
a leak down there this
Yeah.
morning.
So there's a lot more to it. All right, thank you.
Probably
least it-
found another leak.
It's going to be continuous because the pipe is rotted.
I know.
Yeah, it was field welded,
Yeah.
field welded steel,
Yeah.
uncoated. Has a cement mortar lining in it, but the joints aren't sealed. So wherever they did the welding and manufactured the fittings and everything else is where it's having the most trouble.
Stage 4 again.
Okay, all right, thank you.
All right. Anything else you want to say about operations or anything else? Before?
No, the Ranchito well construction should start next week,
Okay.
according to Neeraj.
All right, well then let's close that out and we'll move on to section 4, which is approval of consent agenda, which are pages 9 through 19. Now I'll open it for public comment.
Cindy, what's the latest?
Let me go to the public. It's no public comment. I'll bring it over to the board. Emery?
Cindy, what's the latest theory on when you're not here and voting on stuff? What are we doing? Just vote for, the agenda?
He's-
We just go along and vote, or we have to vote, or what? What's
He's
the-
asking, since he was absent last month, how does he
The
handle
one, the agenda.
on
I
the
mean,
consent
minutes,
agenda?
The minutes,
The minutes, does he vote or does he not vote?
on that one,
He can vote on that.
Mhm.
or,
Okay, all right. Any board comments?
I would like to ask a couple of questions about the format and
What
one other
page?
question. Page 14.
Okay,
Can we clear some of these items up and take them off of this list? We've got, if you look at the top of page 14, there's a bunch of items. Essentially, these are all completed items, and if we could clear this up a little bit. I know we have a new budget coming out here soon, and if that could be all taken off of this.
Yes.
And then the other question I have, but no, I don't. I know what it is. I know what the answer is. So I'll move approval of the consent agenda.
second way, Russ.
okay, every second, all in favor?
Aye.
You have a unanimous vote and you have one absent director. Okay, moving on to item 5B. Review of the district's draft updated capital improvement plan for upgrade and replacement of infrastructure. So this is just the draft of CIP projects, and Pete, you want to take over? This is page
Yes, we have
20 through
our
23.
district engineer
Right.
who is here to help with the discussion about this.
Okay.
But again, this is a list of projects that will be, once we have finalized it and we get a board vote that says we approve it, then we've got to put numbers to it and determine whether we combine sections together into a larger project for financing, or whether we
This is page 21 you're talking.
pick away at it. Yes.
Okay.
I need my glasses. Yes. You can see right off the bat that some of the completion year dates, we're going to need to take that into consideration as we prioritize to determine when we are planning, or when those need to be taken care of. And I'll let Jeff talk a little bit about the process going forward.
Okay.
But this is a really good start. Again, we'll use this combined with our general operating budget to determine the adequacy of rates going forward. Whether a decision to be made is whether we'll be financing work in-house. In other words, whether we're just going to accumulate the money in the budget till we get enough money for a project and move forward, whether we'll go out for financing, whether we'll package them together and do a grant and loan application, and those are decisions to be made over the next few months. So, Jeff, I'll let you jump in.
All right. Thanks. So I'll start, I guess, with the generals, and then we'll get more specific as we move forward. I don't have a board packet, but this is the sheet I'm going to be going off of.
Okay.
Okay, that's page 21.
Okay, so this is a list of capital projects. It was originally started to be assembled a couple of years ago, and as we've spun up to speed on what the needs of the district are, we've talked to Pete and to Randy and identified where the majority of the time is being spent, where the highest priorities are, or what they should be, and so I think we've got a pretty good handle and a good start, like Pete mentioned, on identifying those and putting them closer to the top of the list. And also, like Pete had mentioned, this list will need to be updated as far as what years the projects are going to be started and completed in. But this was just the starting point for us. So I've highlighted several of the projects that are on this list, and those highlighted projects are more specifically on this table in your board packet.
Okay.
And these are the 5 projects that are actively underway right now that are off of this list, the overall list. Everybody follow me?
Which 5, where is that, what page?
Page 23.
Yeah, okay. It's called Capital Improvements Update, May 20th.
Okay.
So the first one is the Ranchito well, and like Sven mentioned, it's been awarded to Nearich Construction, and it's anticipated to begin in the end of this month or by the 1st of June. And it'll be a short-term project. Budget on that is about $37,600, and it'll improve the reliability and the operability of that Ranchito well.
So this will come off of our list of items.
When it's done, yeah, we can just clear it off.
Can you tell me when that will be?
Well,
You'd
if
start
it
construction
begins-
in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, if it starts in the next week or two, they'll be done by, it's not a huge project, by August. I'm gonna say
Thank you.
late August.
Yep.
Write that down and then ask me about it again in August and say, how come this isn't on our list, or this is still on our list?
Well, that's the best date I've had so far, and we've been going on and on this for a year now.
Okay,
Thank you.
you bet. The next one on the list is this valve replacements at the Alamo and Anebro tanks, and then there's another valve at the intake pump station. So we wanted to get these highly prioritized because the operation of those tanks, especially during the dry months, is critical. So they need to be replaced. We've put together plans and specifications, and those are ready to go out to an informal bid process. So the district has a list of contractors that are qualified for that informal bid process. There's a couple of other contractors too that we're going to send it out to. And the goal is to get that bid first part of June, and again, be able to complete that work and get it crossed off the list this season. So I have it down there as a summer 2019 project. The pump number, let's see, I have it pump number 2 in the name, but it's actually pump number 1. So on the intake down the lake, I think we talked about this last time, but the valve on that, it doesn't close all the way. And so water, when it shuts off, it runs back into the lake. So replacing that valve will solve that problem. The third priority on here is the barge renovation. Again, I believe Pete mentioned about that a little bit earlier, but Twin Lakes is going on that. And we're hoping to have, is the contract in place on that at this time?
I signed it.
It's signed, okay.
Their management has to sign it,
Okay.
but they produced it, so it shouldn't be a delay on their side.
Okay. Okay, so with that project, the construction on that is going to take a little bit longer. But again, we're anticipating, I have October 2019 to have that completed and have the barge operational. It's, on that time frame, it's not going to do us much good for this dry season, but it's one of those things that's been on the list for a long time. Let's get it done. And next dry season, we'll have that thing operating, and it won't be on our list.
Thank you.
Don't thank me yet. Words are cheap, but we'll get it there. We're trying. The fourth priority is the intake pump station. This project's in the planning phase, but it is a high priority just because we need that alternative backup source of raw water coming to the treatment plant. There's a planning budget. The construction budget, when this initial CIP was put together, was around $2 million. It's probably a little bit more than that at this point, but we are in the process of submitting a planning application to the state of California to get funding to complete the planning of that project and the design, and then it'll be able to go out for construction. We'll have to apply for construction money. The district just doesn't have the $2+ million to do that project. If the barge is in place and working, then that's a level of comfort that gives us some flexibility on getting this one done, but it is a high priority. We have it as number 4.
Jeff, let me ask you a question on that project. Knowing that ultimately, as you've heard in the conversation, extending that intake has been talked about for decades. If we had to just replace it as is, will we be able to get a bid, say, replace, I'll say like for like or something like that, versus extending it to see what the delta in costs are? Is that a possibility?
It is a possibility, and I haven't gone through the design or the planning for that project in depth, so I'm not exactly sure what it entails. I know that
Okay.
there's a shroud that goes around the pump line, and then the pumps slide down in there. So whether we replace it like for like or go with what's currently been planned, which I believe is to make it deeper.
Right. The reason I'm saying is we're spending $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 on this barge, and then, I mean, it would ultimately, we could get to where we almost didn't need the barge. So I know this is a long-term thing, but I'm just saying, do we have the flexibility, or is it a smart business decision to consider replacing like for like if we can get it done and increase our effectiveness and efficiencies and then still keep the barge? I'm gonna look for your input and thoughts on it. I'll plant the seed now.
Well, somewhere along the line, the suggestion was made, as long as we're going to replace it, let's make it deeper.
Right,
And I don't know when or how that decision was made. I have to believe that there was a good reason behind it. And so,
It was because of the drought.
yeah, so based on my understanding of the project right now, I think before we went that route and said, let's just replace like for like, if the barge is in place, let's make sure that that is the right decision
Okay.
before we just do like for like.
And my question goes on to say is, okay, we've had good rain the last few years. Okay, I'm not saying we're not gonna end up with a drought again or low water tables or whatever. Can any of this work, and my like for like question goes is, can we do any of this replacement work while it's in the water? Because we know we have only one pump that's working. I have no idea the age of the pump that is working. And that kind of goes to my question is, do we put one in so we have some
I follow you.
redundancy? That's why I'm asking
Yeah.
the like for like, and can it be done, or is it too complicated to do it underwater? I don't know those things. I mean, that's why, because I'm very nervous that the one existing pump fails, and then we're sitting there going, oh, wow.
Right.
Now what are we gonna do? Yes, the barge is there, but oh, wow, how long can we run on that barge, and so on and so forth,
Yeah.
to keep water supplied to this community? And that's my concern. That's why I'm asking you the question. So
Yeah.
as you progress, if you could, say, okay, what can we do? I know Randy last month brought us a quote or an estimate of what it would cost us to rent something if we don't have something. And if you look at the cost there, it's
Yeah.
10 to 20% of our annual budget to rent something from Ranger Rent.
Well,
So
it could be done in the water. I think it'd be safe to say that the current amount budgeted for that project wouldn't cover it if we did it while it's in the water.
okay,
And I should probably know the answer to this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. During the winter, is the lake level dropped to the point where that pump is exposed?
not all the time.
Not all the time.
No. I
So-
mean, when it gets exposed, the water table is extremely low.
Yeah.
I don't remember how
Is that-
low the level dropped this year, but.
Is that a drought thing, or
It's
is
a
it?
drought
okay.
thing.
So
That's
it's not
the-
just on planning and preparing
No.
for the runoff?
No.
Okay.
It's a drought. It doesn't go, I know for 5 years we had the barge in the water because it was out of the water. And, for 5 years we said, okay, what do we do? But we had other issues. And that's why I'm asking, can it be repaired while it's submerged? And that goes back to like for like. And yes, it would be an ultimate goal to extend it, but I don't even know if we'll ever be able to do that from an environmental standpoint. That's
I
why.
understand what you're saying.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And then the last project is the service line replacement.
Yeah, correct. So that project's going great. Our monthly engineer's report gives a little bit of detail. I think this was just handed out today. I apologize for not getting it in sooner, but As of the end of April, the amount of work complete was almost 70%, and the amount of budget expended was 55%. So the contractor's proceeding at a, he's ahead of schedule and ahead of budget on that, so that's good.
Ahead of schedule but below budget.
Yeah, under budget.
Okay.
Yeah, and so we've asked him to consider using the remaining budget to just continue on and replace more service lines and valves as long as there's budget available to do it.
Okay, that sounds wonderful.
So there is a somewhat of a decision to be made there, just because the it is over $100,000 in savings in reality that we will pay the contractor less than their bid, and at this point they're asking, do you want us to order the materials to replace more and use up that where they came in under budget? My concern is that we are using up so much of our cash to do all of these projects. We don't know for absolute certain if, let's just say we pick another 30 service lines, whether those are the ones that we want or not. There's just no way to know. So priority-wise, my concern was they still haven't done the valve vault. If they run into issues there and we have change orders and it sucks up some of that money, I'd rather step back, let them finish the project, wrap it up, and then if we still have more service line problems once we close out the grants, and we know we will, but I would say we need to look at that as a priority project to package up for another funding application.
Okay,
and
so
get that done in total.
let me rewind so I saw this 129,000, Jeff addressed it and said, you can do more work if you want to. And I agree with what you're saying as far as, let's get this fixed. Then once all the bills and everything is tallied and totaled, will that money, let's just say there's $100,000, round number, it's easy to talk about. Is that $100,000 available to put in our till, or do we have to spend it under this grant? Is that our money?
It's our cash. We have already, once we submit this reimbursement we will spend all of the grant.
Okay.
And have to make the final payments to the contractor out of our budget.
So this right now, this 100,000 would not come out of our budget. Is that what I'm hearing you say?
Exactly.
Okay.
That's true.
So instead of, if that's the case, that would give us a little bit more cushion based on your sheet. Let's just say, all being said, instead of 833, we could have 933 when the whole thing is done.
Correct.
And I'm going back to that cash flow sheet.
Right.
Okay. So what do you want from the board, or what does the board need to do on that? Do you want us to say how we feel, or do you want to put it on the agenda item for next month?
I would say, well, that's going to be too late because we'll be delaying the contractor by that time.
Okay,
They need to
okay,
know
okay.
if the board wishes to spend that money with this contractor, by giving them a change order to use it, I would suggest you schedule a special meeting to do that and take that up.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Before, within the next week or so, just so
Okay.
that it doesn't
Okay.
delay them. My recommendation is to take the savings
Well,
and put
okay.
keep the cash in the bank.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a tentative special meeting going to be scheduled, so we can make that as an agenda item for that special meeting as well, since it's not on today's.
Absolutely, if needed, yeah. And I
Okay.
just work with Jeff through that to,
Okay.
we'll see where we are in the project and what that last minute timeline is for the contractor to order those materials.
Well, we have it scheduled for Wednesday, so I don't think
No.
2 days is going to make it or break
No.
it. Okay, all
Does it
right.
need to be on that special meeting if they decide to just leave it in the bank and not spend it?
No, in reality, because I have the authorization to sign all the documents on the project and control the budget. So
I'm not sure.
I'm just saying that the decision is to save the money. If the board wants to consider a different decision, have it on the agenda.
Okay.
What
That's all.
he's saying is if you want to, I'm just being clear, if you
Well, that-
want to save the money, then you don't need to put it on the
Okay.
special meeting.
Okay.
So,
So can they decide that now or no?
It's really not on the agenda to do it.
That's what I
I've already directed that
Okay.
with the contractor through,
Gotcha.
through
Okay.
Reed, just
so
that we
let's
have.
keep that as I'll table it and I'll keep it.
Can I
Okay.
ask you a question? So are you saying that this $100,000 they have given us for line replacement, that's what you're saying?
They have not given that much to us.
It's been set aside for that? What are you saying? I'm trying to understand, because I know we got in trouble
We
way back
award,
when, because there was
this is
money
it.
that.
Let me
from the
give
grant
you,
that
I know what you're asking.
Okay.
Let me-
I don't wanna
We
get in trouble.
awarded the construction contract for more than we had available in grants,
Okay,
okay?
yes.
By a round number of $300,000.
Which was gonna come out of.
Come out of our cash. That's why the ending cash is 830
I got it.
some odd thousand instead of $1 million.
Right.
Over $1 million.
I understand.
So
what
we'll
we're
spend
gonna
less
do
of
is
that.
say, instead of spending 300,000, we're gonna spend 200,000, we're gonna put the 100,000 back in our pocket,
Yeah,
which
because-
is our money.
Which was ours to begin
Yeah,
with.
but we
We're just
still met the-
reimbursement for the grant. so.
But we're still meeting the grant obligations.
Yeah, we will have spent that grant and closed it
So,
out.
if this board feels that that's what they want to do, we can call for a consensus. Can we do that legally?
I've already, like I said, I'm authorized with the resolution awarding that construction contract and managing that budget to do that. So
Okay.
we're good. The
Okay.
only thing is I wanted to give you the option, if you want to spend it, to put it back on the agenda, on a special meeting agenda.
No.
And that would be our own money, not grant money.
Right?
Reimbursement.
Yes.
Okay, makes sense.
Okay, all right, good.
No action.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Keep going.
Yeah.
Oh,
Anything
I'm
else?
right at the end.
All right, you're doing